Do I have a motion to approve today's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the, what was it, the July meeting, sorry.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? We'll start with the introduction. Sally Dennis, District 7.
Megan Fitzpatrick. I technically am District 11, but I'm representing St. Helena.
Mark Feinberg, unincorporated District 9.
Jim Berry, representing the town of Port Royal.
Scott Songer. I'm from Bluffton. That's what I got.
Mike Bennett, District 3.
Brad Woods, Marine Corps Recruit Depot, Paris Island, liaison.
Sally McLeod, Solid Waste and Recycling.
Victoria Hoffman, Solid Waste and Recycling.
Jesus Rodriguez, Solid Waste and Recycling.
Sergeant Matt Riccobetti, Beaufort County Sheriff's Office.
Now, do we have any public comment? See anybody? Right on into our reports.
All right. We'll go into our solid waste staff reports. You all should have received the newsletter in your board packet. So we can do a bit of an overview of the financials. These are the totals as of last week. So the monthly invoicing for July and August. This is not encompassing the September invoices or cost. And we are tracking for this fiscal year as far as our expected expenses. And so, any questions on the finance summary? And I do want to note a portion of this revenue is from some hauler decals that we received after the fiscal year changeover. So those are our residential commercial haulers that we received those, but it's very small amount, a couple of hundreds of dollars. The rest is from revenue that we receive from our recycled materials and our other revenue that we receive from either e-waste or used our cash cow bulky metal. Moving on from finances, I won't reiterate everything that's in the newsletter. Did want to make you all aware I attended the PWX National Conference. That's a public works conference, and it was held in Chicago. It was national. I was asked to present on the Emerging Leaders Program in Beaufort County and the Women's Emerging Leadership Summit that I assisted in creating. And it's now an annual event. So that was a lot of fun. Learned about snow. That's not really something we have here. That was the topic of conversation for some reason. I'm not sure why, but apparently it's a problem in other places.
If you live in the places with lots of snow and trying to remove trash, it's difficult.
They were really talking about it a lot. I was like, wow, we have hurricanes sometimes. Yeah. Anyway, I also attended a compost training certificate course that was held through U.S. Composting Council in North Carolina. So it was really a great, in-depth, detailed training course. We went from molecular level of composting microorganisms all the way to field level, create a compost pile in a week and see how it turns out and take the temperatures. So it was really great. I'll be applying to get the certification and then in February, if I'm able to, take the test and get that certification. So a lot of great things learned. We do have a vacant recycling coordinator position. Chloe did resign. She just chose to move on to bigger and better things and stay at home with her family full time. So we're happy for her. Also sad to see her go, but Miss Sally is taking over the role of managing our grants and making sure that we are spending those accordingly. And then moving on to
We should applaud because she does
Miss Sally does a great job. She really does.
so many hats.
Like, she keeps telling me, I keep throwing things at her, and nothing's bouncing off the walls and off the rails. So, Miss Sally really does do a lot for us. We're really appreciative. Look at her face getting all red. So,
I appreciate the bonus you sent me.
sorry, I recently watched one of my presentations, and I realized I say a lot, so now every time I say like, I get sidetracked, and I'm like, stop saying So I'll try not to. The compost pilot program on Monday, last Monday, I believe it was, I presented our new mascot character, Mossy, to PFC, and they were really excited. We worked with Queen Quet to create her. So now that she's unveiled and we are moving forward with her, we're continuing to create our outreach materials for the pilot program. We also have our project manager, who was our superintendent for solid waste. He is now overseeing not only solid waste projects, but public works. And the ones he's working on now are some of our CIPs, but my most favorite is the composting program. So we are going to be doing our site design, just the groundwork in-house from Public Works, since we do have the equipment and the operators. And Brad is obtaining quotes for concrete pads and the covered awnings. So the compost unit will be covered, curing piles will be covered, and then of course an enclosed structure to place the food waste in. So really excited. All of those are moving along. Yes, sir.
Just quickly, I do get a lot of questions about that.
Mm-hmm.
Just refresh my memory. What's the
Yes.
and where? It's what specific locations?
Okay. So we are going to start collecting food waste from residents at our 4 main convenience centers where recycling is currently being collected. They've already installed 2 sheds, one at Bluffton, the other at Shanklin, and then the rest of the sheds will be installed at St. Helena and Hilton Head. And that will look like your typical roll cart, similar to what you have at your home if you have curbside materials, but these will have locks on them. So our plan, which we're not reinventing the wheel, we're getting a lot of information from Charleston and other counties and municipalities who have rolled out a similar program, and as far as California. So anybody who would like to use our food waste collection, they will need to have a training. They'll have to take a test, and then once you pass the test and you know what is accepted, what's not accepted, you'll get a code, and that's the unlocking mechanism for the bins. And so that's how the food waste will also be transferred. So we're going to start with just doing it all in-house.
Yeah.
Say it again? Can we do that? I would love it. Yeah, right? So we'll start in-house and collect those roll containers and then take them here where we'll have our compost operation set up on the hill. So maybe next time when y'all are here, we can do a tour.
Field trip.
Right? Very excited for it. So that answered the question of where, the centers, how. Was there another one?
What's the growth?
The growth plan, yes. So when we applied for the grant funds from the USDA, we approached it as a phased plan. The first phase is going to be collecting it from residents at the convenience centers. The second phase will be implementing it at schools and collecting it from the cafeterias. And the third phase will be our business plan. And I would love to create a green business plan within Beaufort County. Spoken to a couple of council members about it, and we'll be getting our businesses in Beaufort County composting as well. Of course, they won't be bringing their food waste to the centers. They would need to hire a third party to collect the food waste. It's something similar that's happening in Charleston. Smart Recycling does that, and there are other vendors too. The other name is eluding me right now. Something with recycling in it, and yeah, I can't remember it. But anyway, the businesses will have to hire that third party to have their materials transported to our facility. So the goal is to expand and collect as much food waste and divert that material as possible. And then the final leg of that plan was to hopefully get robust enough to have a curbside collection of food waste, similar to what they do in Yes, sir.
Question about the initial rollout. It was my understanding from some of the educational people that you were going to try it out at a school and give the Crocs out at like an elementary school or a high school or a middle school. Start there as the pilot of your pilot. Is that still?
We are discussing if we're not going to get a lot of food waste from residents, then that is an alternative. So to start with just one school, if we're not really receiving the amount of food waste initially. So we definitely want to not just use our yard waste. So if when we roll it out to residents, we're not receiving what we need to continue the operations, we'll then partner with the local school.
How will the residents take this test? Will it be online to get certified to get the code to dump their waste?
Yes, sir. Yep. It'll be multiple platforms, really. So Valentina will go out and present her trainings like she does now. And then also it'll be like an online type of platform. But the goal of us in doing that also is to get data from where the residents are who are participating in the program, what their demographics are, because a large portion of the reason that we got the funds were because of some of the demographics that we do have in Beaufort County. So we want to make sure that when we're rolling out this educational program and this waste diversion, that we're targeting those groups. Yes. Yep, we'll receive all of it. Yeah, the in-vessel unit that we purchased, we'll be able to accept all that waste. Yes, it is. It is a Green Mountain. Yep, it's a Green Mountain, I can't think of the name of the drum, I believe. So inside of it, it's got an auger, it's got fans, it literally is like a microwave, but it actually composts. But you can set it and forget it, but we, not really forget it, but we also requested the temperature probes, so we'll be able to monitor the temperature of the materials. We also are going to have a lift installed, so that'll assist us in dumping the food waste bins. So
It's composting, to do it right, it's a science.
it is a science. It really is. That portion, exactly. That class that I went to, it was held on the campus of NC State in Raleigh, and it was like a college course with the chemical compositions and formulas, and then also getting your compost piles right. So it really is a science, and we want to make sure that we're doing it correctly, and we want to make quality compost, because eventually it would be nice to get it certified, and for you to be able to get it certified, to be able to apply it to agricultural crops and food, you need to make sure that you're following. Yeah, it would be wonderful to eventually have a revenue. That is the goal. And that's composting, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's composting 101, really. You don't want to give away your product that could potentially make revenue. Are selling it, and then you're also just kind of giving away money. So eventually, that is the goal, is for it to be some sort of revenue. All right. So a portion of the next phase will be securing the equipment, so the roll carts and then the signs. So you'll see the sheds popping up, and then once we get our sign design and ordered, they'll be putting up. But we're being just very careful. We want it to look good. That is, I think I answered all the questions for composting. So another thing Brad is working on as the project manager now are our CIP, so capital improvement projects for FY26. Some of those includes center upgrades, so that is replacing asphalt at some of the centers. We did a couple last year. Metal plating and like safety rails. So when there I am, I'm in again. When our haulers come, sometimes those roll-off containers bang on the concrete wall, and so we're trying to reinforce that with metal plating so it's not eating away at that concrete wall. We are updating our attendant sheds, and we're trying to get an auto arm decal entry. We are running into issues with the software program. So a software program that not only scans your decal, we track a lot of data with that decal, So for our cloud to talk to the ARM entry, there's some sort of IT above my mental clarity with how all that works. Apparently it's not just press a button. So
Still planning to move the attendance to do a site.
yes, correct. And
The people get it right for you.
Exactly. We were unable to get those positions in this fiscal year. So it definitely already is on our request for FY27. So that is also something that we've already started, is looking at FY27 requests for budgeting. So that is a big thing that we're asking for, is personnel and then needed equipment. Alrighty, and then a couple of the other CIPs Brad's working on is building, not really building, it's more permitting, but at Bentonfield Road, we're going to permit an additional tire facility so we can store our tires there prior to hauling, and that'll reduce the amount of touching and traveling we have to do currently, because we're accepting the tires at the centers, then having to bring them here to Shanklin. Most of the tires that we receive are on the south side of the Broad, so that'll assist us and our personnel issues. And sorry, every time I say it gets me off track. I should just let it go. Now y'all are tallying.
Until you said
Who's
something.
tallying it? Who's tallying how many times I said?
All right. You're
I
up to
blame my
7.
husband. He told me, he was like, you say I'm a lot. I was like, thanks a lot. So off the top of my head, those are the CIPs. Oh, our HHW area here where we store on Shanklin. We're sprucing that up a bit, just to be a bit of a bigger facility. When we first started collecting HHW, had a lot less population, so we're just expanding there. All right, and we also are working with Mr. Songer on the financial side, so everybody welcome Mr. Songer. He was virtual last time, but he does have a really great background in finance, so he was helping me and Miss Sally with auditing our program and just budgeting it more efficiently.
Excel 101.
Yeah. For him, he says it's Excel 101, but it's really like guru level. So any questions on any of the newsletter? We do have Jesus here. Valentina was unable to make it because it is Stormwater Awareness Week. So she is in Bluffton for her stormwater program today. And then also a flyer that was attached to your newsletter was her upcoming Go Green talks. So it's not only going to be the composting program that's upcoming, but also zero waste, stormwater, and recycling. So she encompasses all of that. But when we do have a recycling coordinator, that person will be able to assist Valentina and kind of take some of those away from her so she doesn't have so much on her plate.
Do you need help finding recycling, or do you need help?
We are...
Any of applicants? for
Well,
the
we're
job?
not, it's not yet posted
Okay.
because we're in the
Right.
process of kind of changing that position and what it looks like on paper.
To be continued.
Yes. We'll let you know if we're having a difficult time. Oh, and we also applied for an intern to assist with recycling and education and outreach. So we're hoping to that as a whole has. So we're excited about that. I know that Fleet had one, and he worked in the garage for his allotted time, and it worked out really well until he graduated. So we're really hoping to get somebody in for that.
Those guys want to go through the plan,
Mhm.
do that tour, because I think that's really valuable for education.
Agree. People love that they can get boots on the ground in I2's. All right. Jesus, anything you want to report? Put you on the hot seat?
I don't have, or excuse me, I don't have Mike near me. We're almost complete with the 30-minute challenge that I, in August. We're looking to make that an all-year-round event in addition to adopt the highway. So that's pretty much all I have right now, and thank you.
Doing a great job. Appreciate it.
I like the waste breakdown by category.
Yeah, his reports are really in depth. If you haven't taken a look, this is really involved with the litter crews, and really, honestly, our roads look fantastic.
They have much improved over the last 5 years, and even more since Jesus has joined. Shout out to.
For everybody, Victoria and everybody else for getting me what I need as well, so thank you.
Yep, that ends our report, so we can move on to 8.
Got a new business. Just have a motion to approve the schedule for solid waste and recycling board.
So moved.
Okay.
They're asking that we lean into the microphones.
Hello, hello.
Sorry. Be louder. Okay, so no additional public comment. So our next meeting will be held on Thursday, December 18th, 2 o'clock, back here, Shanklin.
Unless we have chambers.
I believe we have chambers.
And maybe we'll have a field trip. I'll let y'all know if you need to wear your
Yeah.
boots.
Compost field trip, I like it.
Okay.
Can I say something before we adjourn?
Oh, please.
Okay, so I live in Hilton Head, and I went over to the transfer station just to say hello and kind of introduce myself and see if the staff, what was working for them and what wasn't. So I thought I'd kind of present what they told me. So for the recycling side, the signage that we currently have is just, it's not really effective. It doesn't really explain, you know, only number 1 and number 2 plastic. What is number 1 and number 2 plastic? So the guys that work there, it's so commingled, they have to go out and take out flower pots and what have you. So they requested to have more clear signage on the paper and the plastic. I see you smiling, so you've heard this before.
We're
Okay, also, for our cardboard, they used just a piece of cardboard and wrote on there, please break down your cardboard in no styrofoam. Well, that has been mangled, so if they could get like a real sign that says that, that would be great. They asked for an employee at the recycle area, just because that's where we run into so many problems. So the day I went, there were only 3 people there, and they said that's, you know, pretty typical. They also did mention that, I guess, prior to now, there was a volunteer from our recycle vendor that used to come out Thursdays and Saturdays to help, and that no longer happens, and they were wondering if they could get that back.
We'll take a look at it. So what we did when we we got a month's worth of data under the current levels of participation and contamination, and then we went ahead. Thank you. Sorry, I can lean forward.
Working together.
And so what we did is we put together what was called a green team for about 6 weeks it was, and we ran volunteers at Bluffton and Hilton Head on Thursdays and Saturdays, as they're talking about. And it made, and then we ran the impact study on that, and it actually reduced, I think, almost 40% of the contamination that was coming out,
yes.
just by talking to people.
Yep.
So that is what stemmed the ARM, moving the staff forward. So we're trying to work towards that. Could we do it again? We could. It's a volunteer group.
Yeah.
I would have to re-coordinate it. I've got no problem, and if it's going to take much more time to do the ARM, I'm all in for it. You know?
Just in the interim, because
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was talking to the employees, and I said, well, we understand that there's like a 3 to 4% contamination, you know, do you buy that? And the guy was like, laughed at me. He was like, oh, no way, Megan, you know, so it seemed like obviously that's going to be their biggest issue, and it's really, educating the public.
It's 100% educating.
It
With the
is.
signs and with
Sign-
that person.
clear
Now, we can only
signage.
run, volunteers don't run year-round. You can't run these programs. But it's been a year, exactly a year, to this day. So we could definitely do that, especially if they're screaming for it,
They
It
really
makes a
are.
difference.
It
It
would-
makes a
And
difference.
these guys really, really care, so to
They
kind
do.
of give them that support,
Yep.
I think would be.
Were you talking to the lady?
Willie and, no, it was Willie and George and Danny. Yes, he spoke very highly of both of you. Yes, Willie.
A couple of those guys and all those guys are tremendous. They
They're-
work hard, they get beat up.
No, they really do, by especially customers. Anyway, we.
Curious if
talked
those
about-
had the do and don'ts magnets on them when you
No.
visited?
No.
Okay. Okay, so
I can send you pictures. I meant to go back.
okay.
I'll
Well,
send you-
these are the magnets that we're currently purchasing for the roll-off containers. So apologies, it's not
No,
projected
ma'am,
on
that's-
the, okay.
we do not
Well,
have
they will
those.
all have those, and they'll
Okay.
be in English and Spanish.
That was the other
so that-
request.
Yep, so that
Great.
will show them what can and cannot be on that, and that's something Mike and I have been working
And
on.
like,
is
what is number
updating them.
one and number two plastic?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even Willie was like, Megan, is this number one plastic? I said,
Yeah.
yes, it's not. Let's get rid of
Well,
it.
unfortunately, so it's hard to tell you what a number one is.
I know.
There's two definitions, right? The scientific definition
Mm-hmm.
or the symbol, and that's what you're looking for.
Most
So-
people use the symbol.
Yeah.
But again, we
and so-
we have people that move in from out of state. I mean, this area is a magnet for out-of-state people. And they get told about the recycling efforts. And they say, especially if they're from California, they say, oh, we want to recycle. We always recycle. And then again, it's the education level of plastics. They don't know, and there's no handout for a prospective new person coming to the convenience center. I just had a guy move in next door this week, and I said, there's a convenience center, you may have called it a dump in your old adage, but here's where we recycle, and here's where you drive to get it, and you can do. Oh, great, but they don't have any idea about plastics, of where to look for the logo, and what the logo, should have a 1 or a 2 in it. So if there's anything we should spend money, I think, from a budget standpoint, would be education flyers that could be given out to people. So look here and see the symbol.
we do have, not handed out, but if you look on the solid waste and recycling, there's a pretty, you can't make it too exhaustive, but there's a list of what's recyclable, what's not, and a much better description. If you guys see those handouts, sometimes we do them with our things like that. So the materials are there. Now, the application may not be the best, but I think a lot of those materials, number one, number two is very complicated to say, hey, you're really relying.
Sure.
So, but what can change on those signs is you can at least put the symbol, because that people relate to that mostly. There's some people that won't because they just.
Ask if you have a plastic flower pot, should it go into, you don't want it, where should it go
Trash can.
in general waste?
Trash.
Because it's not going to have that recycling triangle on it. So it's not an accepted material in our stream.
And we took a lot out, Willie and I did, just from, the roll-off. I mean, we were actively taking them out, and then people pulled up, and so we were chatting with them, kind of educating them a little bit.
Stuck into it.
I did this for 10 years, every single day I owned this business, so yes, I felt right at home.
Yeah.
But anyways, to have someone, at least a volunteer or something there, I think would really help with our contamination numbers and just help the staff and the public in general, just to be more
You can definitely
more
rerun that program
educated.
again, because it just takes a little coordinating. I'll get Mary Stewart.
Agree. And that was a request that we wanted to do in this fiscal year, but unfortunately, it was not able to be submitted this year. And it's something that we'll ask for in FY27, to have that extra staff on hand just to be at the recycling area. And then hopefully be able to kind of look through and pull out those flower pots. But the do's and don'ts, Mike and I have been working on getting those magnets ordered for all of the roll-off containers. So where you see like plastics only, it's going to say, what is it, Mike? Plastics plastics, bottles, and jugs. So we are updating our signage because it's been over a year now with I2, and we're kind of learning what worked. Really, everything worked, but we can fine tune better. So, but also the cardboard, definitely looking into that, and we'll get them a sign. We did have a lot more signage at the centers, and that was an issue too, because then we bombarded them with too much signage. So there's a happy medium,
Sure.
definitely. But I think that the do's and don'ts magnet are really going to help with that, because it has the image of what is accepted. It says plastics number 1 and number 2, only bottles, jugs, and jars, and once we get that recycling coordinator, she'll host the talks. We need to get people to come to the talks. So it is always definitely something we're working on to make sure that we have that clear. But hopefully, my biggest hope for that is the recycling personnel on site. It really would help a lot, because we did learn a lot when Mike had his volunteers there. That was his idea for the initial
They're handing out
rollout.
the stuff, and they were working. We watched the drop after a month, after 6 weeks.
They said it was amazing, truly.
It really helped, and it helps them a lot, because they're
does.
getting these questions, and they're not trained. Like, we haven't trained them specifically like I trained my volunteers. So here, let me explain the contamination rates, right? So right now, I think county's sitting at 7% contamination overall, all right? But if you take them, now that's overall, that's because cardboard comes out very clean, and you'll do 300,000 tons or 1,000 pounds, whereas plastic, you'll only do, like 60,000 pounds. Right, but plastic, really, that's beyond acceptable. We deal with it because we're trying to work with the county to try to figure it out. Glass, lots of tons, very heavy. So the overall recycling rate, when you blend all that together, because plastic's very minimal in the weight side of it, so is
A lot more volume than weight.
right, it's a lot more volume. So when you look at it a weight side, that's why it's 7%. And so when you tell people 7%, they need to know the context of what that means. Is that it's not just But if you look at plastic, it's 32 right now. Paper's the next worst. Metals and cans do very well. They sit well within 7, 4, something like that. Glass is pretty well too. Those things that people gravitate to because they're simple. But plastic's very difficult to explain.
It is definitely complicated, but we do train our attendants. We recently held an attendant training in August. So we do train them. We remind them of all of our recycling rules. We provide them with pamphlets and the resident's guide to recycle to hand out. And we're working on getting an additional position, kind of a reclassification of our full-time staffer, for there to be a lead center attendant. So that will also present somebody that's at the centers all the time in some sort of a management level position. We also think that's going to help.
We're good, okay.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Knew you were the problem.
I was just, Megan, I would just chime in there. I go to Hilton Head and to Bluffton, and there's respectfully, of course, there's a big difference. Hilton Head is it's just so busy, and it's a tight spot. We all know this, right? Bluffton, whenever I too took over, like I saw the signage change, and I'm here because of Mary Stewart, right, who is the volunteer coordinator, I know through church. And they did a great job of, and then they did, like volunteers do, kind of go away after, 6 to 8 months? It's just sort of got,
We didn't want to work.
I did a couple volunteer stints, and then I went, we just kind of stopped emailing each other. So it can be regenerated, and again, there's a difference in the two systems, two sites. I don't go to any others, but it's worth sort of stating, it's like, Bluffton's pretty good, like the
Yeah.
signage is pretty good, Hilton Head's pretty bad, and that's all I know. So
Yeah, Shanklin and St. Helena. When you said you went to Bluffton, I was relieved, honestly. When she said she went to Bluffton, I was relieved. I was like, oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So it does differ between the different centers, and so those are the areas we try to target.
Twice a week.
Yeah.
And so.
I'll look for you.
I'm there a lot, and again, certain workers work harder than others. I know most of them are retired. I rarely see anybody in Bluffton in the recycling area. They're really trying to keep the rest of the place clean.
Yeah,
Uh,
it really
it's-
is. They
it's a
work
real-
hard and.
It's a real effort to keep it clean. People drop stuff and don't pick it up. It's sad, but it's there.
Yeah, we do. We value our attendants. It's a tough job. They're forward facing to customers all day long. And some people aren't happy. But they do. They try their best. But they can't see it all to prevent that contamination. So I really think with this extra personnel strictly for recycling, to be able to help educate people, pass out pamphlets for recycling, and be there to hopefully spot it before it gets into the bin will really be beneficial.
And, I mean, if you guys, when we do the volunteers, if you guys want to sign up, you know, if it's because we'll train you too. We're going to train you on how to react to people, because reacting to people is it's some people that cannot believe that we only accept ones and twos because they come from.
I went to all the trouble of bringing this plastic,
right, and they're
you're
upset about
telling me it
right?
isn't good.
So part of the coaching is actually dealing with people. It's just how to relate, and you're being a coach. But if you guys ever want to, and put in, it is a very wide, it's an eye opener to talk to people. We actually have a harvester down in Sea Pines where we it's a mini convenience. That's where we start our training with people, is we put them in the harvester and then take them to our facility and then put them out at the Bluffton facilities. That's how we did it last year. So it's a really cool. I mean, well, I think it's cool, but it's definitely can be very valuable information, experience.
I think if you could make this really big. I mean, I think you would get a lot more volunteers than you would believe that would volunteer to become volunteers at the centers, to do a public outreach for volunteers. I mean, it's hard to get them to join this, but it might be easier to join.
You know, volunteers have limits, but we didn't,
Yeah.
we had probably 25 or 26 people because they did rotate and they can only serve there's limits, you can't just put somebody out there all the time.
It's a 12-hour day and
Yeah.
7 to 7, not everybody wants to do
At the
that.
busiest times and try to do the best we could to hit the biggest impact, but we had a lot of people, they care about this. They care, they want to be a part of it.
Agree.
I got 20 more people on my volunteer list
It makes a
here.
difference. We'll redo that.
Working on it
They
now.
appreciate that so much. Thank you. One more thing, the Hilton Head, they told me they have a hole in the fence. I don't know if that's something that they would fix, or like when you're coming in, there's a big hole in the
I know
fence.
we just had gray bar repair fencing, so it may have been at that center, but we do have an on-call contractor that
Okay,
repairs
Willie
the
told me there was a big
fences.
hole in the fence, so they were concerned about that. And then the e-waste flyer that they're passing out to schedule the e-waste, one thing, if we can change, I should have brought it with me, I'm sorry, it's my other car. It says hard drives, if you can change that to wiped hard drives, because again, I'm concerned about the liability with hard drives and such, and just if you say wiped on there, that could mitigate some of the potential responsibility. So that's just a suggestion that I have for that.
Yeah.
Say wiped hard drives.
Yeah,
Yes.
we've started to put that on our flyers too, whenever events come up for that specific reason. Yes, thank you. And you said Hilton had hole fence? Okay.
Hilton had a hole in the fence.
Yeah, I
Thank
know
you.
that we recently repaired a fence, but that's something that we've, since fiscal year 26 started going around the centers one by one, what needs to be repaired, placed, but I'll double check for Hilton Head.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, I'd like to just make a couple comments or questions, I guess. This is my first meeting representing the town of Port Royal. My wife volunteers all the time to work on the committees there with the town. She got on me about sitting on the couch all the time and just fishing and golfing. So I put my name in the hat, but I don't want to just sit in the chair. If I'm going to be any good, I need to learn what you need, what I need to do. If any of y'all got time to put up with me for a while and you explain your part of the program, I'll be glad to listen and come out here. I'm retired. So I say I can sit in the chair, but if you need me, I would sure be better off doing that and making myself at least a little useful. And I guess the other question, a comment I have, what is the success of the program to curbside? Like in Port Royal, we got a recycling bin and we got a trash bin. I know a lot of them don't use, they just use one. I mean, what do I tell the people when they ask me those kind of questions?
What's your question?
I got a lot of them will say, well, we don't use the recycling because it doesn't get recycled anyway.
Okay.
And what do I tell them?
Same
They ask me
thing.
that question.
Yes. So the county doesn't oversee any of those contracts. The only thing we really oversee is our centers, and we can definitely tell you that anything collected at our centers goes to I2 and is recycled. As far as commercial contractors who collect curbside, we do not contract that. We don't oversee them. The only thing that we do offer them is our hauler decal that permits them to take their MSW to the landfill. MSW is like regular trash.
So I need to encourage the residents of Port Royal, if they are into recycling, to use the centers.
Well,
and
well,
not
no, we do have an ordinance that states if you are a solid waste hauler and you're collecting waste, you have to at least offer the trash services and offer the recycling services. If you're taking material that is recyclable to the landfill, it is against our ordinance. So if a company is doing that, they're not following the ordinance, and it says in their hauler decal paperwork that they received that if they're found to not be doing that, and just being honest, then they would be revoking their hauler decal, which would have, the county's not going to pay for your tipping fees then. So it really is a high cost. There are some things that we're looking into, hopefully in the future, to be able to encompass all of curbside and recycling. But just let them know, like, it is technically illegal whenever there's a Beaufort County Code ordinance that they're not following. So I'm sure, what's Port Royal's hauler? I'm sure they're doing their due diligence in recycling.
Once a week, Coastal
Coastal.
comes through and says that they've got separate sides on their truck. And again, the people say, are they really dumping it on the right side, and are they really recycling any of it? And there's a lot of consternation about that, and a lot of misinformation. You know, we understand now, and I understand better, that people have said, well, Beaufort County doesn't recycle. And I had to correct a general manager to say, that's not true. It's not mandatory by the county to recycle, but we have recycling. There's two different thought processes there.
Yeah.
And again, what you said is, if a hauler gets permitted for curbside pickup in the county, then they must offer recycling as part of it.
Yep.
How well they do it is a different story.
Yeah, they have to at least offer the recycling, and of course, it's not mandatory for residents to recycle. And then also, if a hauler in the county has one of our decals, then they receive our ordinance, and the ordinance is very clear. Recyclable materials are not to be sent to the landfill. But then you have the whole thing of, you know, if a load is contaminated, and that's kind of a loophole. Really,
So-
if there's another way to.
So let's look at this as a bit, I get this all the time, right? I have a whole speech on this actually, if you guys ever want to do it. So, because recycling is inherently complicated, and is there problems with it 100%? But I would beg to say, and most people want to blame the hauler. They immediately want to jump on the hauler, okay? And I think the hauler has a piece to play, the county has a piece to play, and so do the residents. And what we have here is a little bit of broken in each one, meaning we have a melting pot of people, okay? And they all come with their own different ideas of what recycling is, okay? So they put what they think they came with into the pot. That may or may not be right, and that may contaminate the load. Okay, that's because, and then on top of that, so we don't have any real hard standards and specific lists from the waste management to recovery, from the recovery facility that's standardized across all of the haulers. So the haulers, you know, to some degree, I feel would be obligated to make that standardized list. But without it, it leads to the people contaminating, okay? So if that occurs, you know, it only takes 1 or 2 houses. It'll blow, you know, it'll blow an entire load. Well, the hauler's not going to necessarily come bring it back, you know, send another truck back or something. I would beg to say, should the haulers have some sort of no-take policies? On our commercial, we do. We have no-take policies. We have red tape. We train our. Should they do it? Sure, but they're not obligated to. So, to some degree, you know, so there's a couple broken pieces here, and I would suggest that this board, if we take, probably help apply pressure to and look at, you know, standardization. hauler qualifications and requirements, stuff like that, that really makes a difference. But, you know, it's not that anybody's doing anything malicious, because that's what people get. Okay, oh, they're doing, well, I think a lot of people could share responsibility here. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot. It's, you know, the residents, they're not looking for the list. You know, they're just dumping. You know, the residents should be asking for a very specific list and then adhering to it, you know, so.
So let me just follow up. If in fact a hauler for residential curbside receives a contaminated or multiple, that hauler then just puts it in general waste because he can't put it in the recycled side because it's already contaminated. So I wonder what just a quandary of what percentage of pickup at curbside is actually contaminated. I would think it's a much higher number than at the recycled centers.
Well, the contamination rates.
Single
at
stream
curbside-
always is.
Yeah, single stream, I hate single stream. I don't like it. It's not a good product. It fits a bill, but it requires a lot of attention for me to give feedback. I have my commercial clients. I do commercial only. I don't do residential. And my commercial, I have constant feedback. I have no take, red tape. I'm sending pictures, right? Whereas when I have like convenience centers or semi-sorted, even dual stream is better than. And that's what if I ever was to have a perfect recycle collection for residents, it would be dual stream. That's where you separate your paper from your three-dimensional bottles and cans. That's what they call it, container and fiber. That makes the sorting easy. It cleans up the contamination. And you don't have a bunch of trucks and a bunch of containers that you have to have. It's kind of a balance of mixed recycling versus dual stream. So mixed recycling is tough. But without policies, procedures, standards, and stuff, it's really, you know.
And the public knowledge, like you said, public information that maybe we can help initiate through, you know, the local news. Or, you know, get delivery anymore, somehow to get to the public, you know, that information.
I think it's kind of like the volunteer aspect, boots on the ground,
Yeah.
where these people
Yeah.
are actually
Well,
dropping. I mean, I can't speak for
especially-
like coastal waste,
Well,
but if
I'm
you're going to
just
come to
looking
the
at-
facility.
From a personal perspective, you know, we've got 625 homes. Moss Creek has a bunch. Neighborhoods that are behind gates that could get that information out. You know, I would love to have a flyer to give all 625 homeowners, and of the 625, probably 500 use curbside pickup and have no idea whether they're contaminating or not contaminating recycling. They have no clue.
That's an initiative we've looked into, our mailers. So with the composting program coming up, we've looked into mailers, so mailing out to residents in Beaufort County what is accepted at centers. That may change with your curbside. I know I live in City of Beaufort, and what's accepted in my curbside is different than what's accepted at the center, and that causes confusion, especially if, you know, I go to the centers. And then another thing that we also implemented last year were commercials. So we issued commercials out for what's accepted at the centers and tried to educate the residents that way. And I don't think that there's any one way, one direction, you know, and definitely open to more avenues of how we can reach people, because we have the flyers and we have our billboards and we have our Recycle Coach app and our website and our commercials. Just getting the information out to almost 200,000 residents. It's difficult, especially, like you said, it's a melting pot. When people come from different places and then living in different municipalities, having different service providers and different rules. Because if you do look at what coastal waste receives, what capital, what waste management, it's different. It goes across the board. So it is difficult. We need.
This isn't an abnormal problem either.
Absolutely not.
Really, you know, I think if you look at other communities and stuff, a lot of these, especially standardization, there are nonprofit organizations that are trying to solve this labeling problem nationwide, you know. But there's a lot more nuances that go behind this, you know, because like we're limited to what we can accept because we live in a rural area. accept number fives, number sevens, you know, or not even number sevens, the number fives, you know.
wouldn't want seven.
That's junk plastic.
Yeah.
But a number five, you know, they're too far, so I can't accept. That's the why. You know, people don't understand. That's when we do our tour, we talk about
financial
why.
model there.
It is. Well, it is. It's a business.
business.
Yeah, it's a business.
Exactly.
You know, and
It's a business.
yeah, and South doesn't. We're not subsidized. You know, we don't get subsidized by the government. We don't get, you know, grants and funds and all sorts of stuff. You know, so it's like. Where up north, it's heavily subsidized. Anyway,
I was going to say, I'm from Maryland 10 years ago now, and this is highly subsidized and everything's single, what's it called? Single stream. And it's a mess, and my buddy from high school runs the recycling and just shakes its head every time, because there's so much waste. Would it be a good idea, or I'm going to just suggest it's a good idea, that there's a lot of experts in the room, I'm not one of them, to say, you know, on this issue of not the centers, but the actual educating the public, right? That here are 2 or 3 things that are pretty standard in the industry that we could try in Beaufort County. Things are coming to mind, but I think I need to not take up the board time to talk about it, but it's like, it'd be nice to say, here are 2 or 3 things, regardless of whether we've done it before, don't care. That's the killer phrase of board meetings, like, oh, we did that before. Don't give a crap, right? Can we do it again? And what are the 2 or 3 things? You probably know them, you probably know them. So I'd love to do that next meeting and like have a report.
Working session.
Exactly.
I was gonna say, it might be
It's the same
Or a
question. We all
subcommittee,
get it. That's the
just-
most common question. Like,
helpful to
do
have
they
the
actually
haulers
recycle?
come into, like years past, we have had kind of a round table with the haulers, so you can see, we're guessing, we can make an educated guess, but we are guessing on what they're seeing, what they're dealing with. But until you get them in the room, I know in years past, we've had some success of being like, what are you fighting? Okay, let's all work together, because they are, like you said, an
well, they always
important
get beat
piece.
up about it too.
Yeah,
They
and
have
so just say,
valid
what are you
reasons.
saying? So take that piece to then implement in the education piece. If it's, maybe there's something new, maybe not, but it's probably worth a sit down with them too. And it's probably been a few years since we've done
Good
that.
communication at a minimum.
Just for our own education too,
Right.
Yeah.
to be able to have a
Yeah,
conversation
it
with
is.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, like it.
You mentioned contamination percentages. If you realize, what happens when they come to when they're contaminated? Do you separate them, or do you?
Yeah, so
trash them, or-
well, okay, no, so it's a good question. So there's basically 2 levels of contamination. You'll see this even in mixed recycling, single stream. So you have priority 1 and priority 2, you know, primary and secondary contamination. Your primary ones are the ones that reject a load. That's look at and see that there's just egregious problems with it. The no-don't signs are designed to stop the rejection contamination. Okay, they're both. Those are the rejection. So when you look in it, you'll be like, oh, that's total junk. You can tell. The secondary is like the number 5s and the number 2s. But that doesn't reject loads. That gets sorted out. Okay, that just becomes a cost of doing business. And when that cost becomes, you know, a lot, then we start looking at it like, well, we got to change some things. But people automatically assume that you know the bottle cap being on or off is a contaminant that's going to blow a load. I say you reject a load, and but that's not the case. It's really those 4 main items that reject a load. So our drivers are trained. I can only speak to me. I can't speak to anybody else. Our drivers look at the recycling when they get it. They can handle up to 5 to 15%, depending on the commodity, of contamination. We've gotten past rejecting quite a lot of loads. But it's really not as high as you think. It's plastic that always gets rejected. That's the one that always gets
Who on
rejected.
the board has been out to his facility? Because maybe we did, I don't know, time gets away from me. We did like a field trip out there.
Yeah, I want to go.
I was gonna say, I don't think anybody but me on this board has been there, so maybe we do a board field trip,
You get to see it.
100%.
out to your facility.
And
You actually
compost.
see the
Mostly
contamination,
compost,
you
too.
see what happens. And then that secondary gets sorted out through the sorting line. So, and we measure both, by the way. We measure both, so we know what primary, what secondary, we know what contamination comes from each center and the levels. So we actually have data on all of those things. So did that?
But you can really, when you go out, you can really understand, when we talk about, see, feel, get a good pulse of what he's getting in and what he has to do to deal with
And we'll put you behind the sorting line.
Yeah, it's very
There you go,
fun.
sort, man. Put you in gloves.
Put some gloves.
Yes.
Let's do it, man.
Gloves and a mask.
I'll take the labor, the free labor, the cheap labor. I'll take it.
My first job when I got into the Air Force in '73 was managing the Air Force base.
Knee deep in it.
Yep.
Circle.
Circle. Lots of knowledge sitting around that table right there.
I know we're trying to probably gonna move on, but the distributors or the haulers, meaning not I-2, where do they take the recycling? I missed
Talking about
something.
county recycling or what they're, like, there's two different things, right? So from the convenience
Yes.
centers.
They don't take it
or-
to him, right?
No, not,
Curbside pickup.
Curbside,
pickup, where does it go? I mean, just a general, I don't,
It's a free-for-all.
yeah, wherever
We
they,
we don't govern that.
yeah.
wow, okay.
There's only a couple facilities.
Yeah, there's not many options.
So it goes somewhere.
Yeah, there's not many options.
So waste management,
There's no recycling going on.
yeah, well, no, I wouldn't say that. I do get
A little bit.
recycling
Okay.
totals from each of our haulers.
Okay.
So I can't imagine that they're just fabricating all of those figures. But I know Waste Management has a
It's a transfer now. I mean, it's a.
recycling
Yeah, it's a
transfer
recycling
station.
They used to have a
Not
big
really
belt.
Murph.
I
They
mean,
had a,
Yeah.
they had a
I
mark
wasn't-
and we
I've
did
been there. It's a mess.
Yeah.
tour. Were
But
you
it's-
on that tour?
It's ugly.
Or was it
That
just
one?
me?
It's
I've been
ugly.
up there.
At the landfill?
Well,
Yeah,
the
was it
board
at
did a
the
tour
land-
there too. a while
I know
back,
that they're transporting
Years get
that
away
now
from
to
me, I don't
Charleston.
know.
But yeah, we don't, and that's kind of a piece of the puzzle that we're looking at, is we do offer to cover the tipping fees for residential waste. We'd like to also cover the tipping fees for residential recycling. And I think that would help kind of even the playing field, because then we would, I don't want to use the word control, then we would have a synonymous all across the board of this is what we can accept, but then you deal with
With that, then you can actually create
enforcing.
the
So
standard.
it's kind of a push-pull kind of thing there.
worth-
It's very,
worth talking about.
yeah.
And Megan, I appreciate when you mentioned the community centers as a transfer station. That was.
That's where I'm from, I'm sorry.
Well,
We
most people,
call them
like, it
transfer
is
stations.
a transfer
Yeah.
station.
Exactly what it is.
They do, and when you say transfer station, it has a bad context around it. Like, people like, oh, no, not a transfer station. I'm like, well, you have them all over the place, by the way. You know, it's a transfer station.
We call them back home,
Small
yeah.
trucks come to big trucks, and, and big trucks get hauled out, so.
We just don't have the permit for a transfer station, so it's a convenience center.
Right. It's not a transfer station.
It's not a transfer station.
I'll change
Sorry.
my language.
DES.
Yes, I'll watch that.
It's got trouble.
People have a problem with convenience center. They don't understand what it means.
Yeah.
More convenient than having to drive to Richland.
Driving up that hill. You should go up the hill.
Probably,
If-
yes.
Question answered.
If
It
another
sounds a lot
tour,
better.
Yeah, go up the hill on the landfill. That's an eye opener. It's the tallest space in the whole thing. It's a nightmare driving up it. Go up there on a rainy day. You'll see what these haulers have to deal with too. Go up there on a rainy day and you got to climb this mountain and you can't get up there. You got to be pulled up
Yeah,
by
so you
this
can climb
tractor.
me bullet.
Oh,
It's a mountain of trash.
It's a big mountain of trash.
Okay, is that gonna conclude our new business?
So,
Good job getting us talking, Megan.
I was like,
I'm good at that.
I'm all-
Is there a subcommittee or is there?
We didn't formally get there.
Yeah. Do subcommittees or working sessions exist, or how do you guys typically do it?
Not,
Well, you can't have more than three, any more than 3 board members would make a quorum. I mean, a quorum is 3, so you can't have any more than 3 board members together.
A formalized meeting.
meeting
Otherwise, you
without
have
it
to have
being-
advance notice.
The public
So it can
is-
only be 2.
It's quorum.
we can take a field trip.
So as
We
long
can
as,
take a
you know,
field trip.
What about ex officios?
they're fine.
So we're not.
So, on the questions that we pose, do we want to, like, we don't want to put this on Victoria and Sally, right? They got plenty to do. Do we want to, like, have a couple people work with Mike to answer some of the questions? Like, I'm thinking, my question, I'll repeat it, is what are the most common things that you can do to educate the public, not on the convenience centers, but on recycling 101 curbside?
Well, I think that's why we have the hauler meeting, to bring those haulers who are offering the curbside service, so we can see what they're facing, because at this point, we don't know, we're just guessing, to get from them what they really are seeing, what could help them have better, non-contamination numbers or whatever they're facing, and that way, that can be pushed out for the board to figure out if there's a solution here, but really for their education piece, so they can figure
That'll
out
be our
what.
next step.
So
Yeah.
we'll coordinate that.
Probably first of the year.
Yeah.
December's kind of.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I think in the meantime, also, like you said, many pieces to the puzzle, seeing his piece,
Field trip.
which is, yeah.
We'll have
Definitely.
time to talk about that sort of stuff in the zone.
It's different when you see it.
I have to make an emotion for adjourn.
Okay. Bang on the table and say.
First. Okay, I'm gonna make a, motion to adjourn the meeting.
Really nice. We will adjourn.